phenomenal.
If anyone knows who KT is, they would believe you. 100%.
I'm not gonna lie, the fact we have a doctor in the house makes me feel a lot better.
Oh yeah.
With some of these games.
In fact, I think that he's probably hired by the KT fan group in order to make sure that everyone is safe.
That would make a lot of sense.
Because otherwise we would have a lot of cardiac arrest.
I'm just starting to wonder, is one doctor enough?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we actually did single out one of the doctors, but I think there's one per row.
Oh.
Just to make sure that everyone is taken care of.
That's very good. Good news.
This is just an assumption. Of course, I don't have any official information, but I think that it does make a lot of sense. So, jungle is all banned once again. This is exactly the same bans that we saw in game number 1. And is Susan going to be once again taken away? Because that would be mirrored as far as these bans are concerned.
The thing is, if you ban Nasus here, it's probably just the Azir first pick again. So, it'll be interesting to see what they opt to do in this situation.
They're taking as much time as they can, and it will just be the Nasus.
Then I think T1 just lock the Azir.
Yeah.
I think when Azir is strong, Faker will just do this. We've seen this in the past like year and a half happen a lot where it's like, okay, well Azir's open, we'll just stick him on it. Consistently high priority. So now, over the side of KT,
I think why don't you just lock Smolder center and just say your move?
They haven't really been leaning towards the center. They've been going this for Next and Sedge consistently. But there is the threat of that Olaf. But to be fair, last time the Olaf was picked in second rotation, they will let it through the second rotation. My question for T1 is, how heavily do you prioritize the Lilia? Or do you just take center Olaf right now?
Yeah.
The Olaf did great in the top lane matchup against the Renekton. If you leave it to second rotation, it's going to ban 100%. The Aatrox didn't fit the bill. If you're going to make the center thing work, I think Olaf center here would be good. But they want to prioritize the Lilia for Oner, and they will lean on that instead. So the question is, do they still go for the center, knowing that the Olaf is off the cards? The answer is probably, but we'll have to see what they can come up with as a solution to the lack of that.
So Lilia is going to be locked in, and then, I mean, if we're just following game 1 to the letter, it is just going to be center locked in, and then we move over to a Smolder pick. And I think that that's actually kind of likely to happen. I think if you drop the center, you're in a little bit of trouble, but instead it's going to be the Olaf, and that will be locked in just to make sure that Zeus can once again get that matchup towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, because
Veigar?
He was doing well in the top matchups. They want to secure that. I don't like the Veigar, because I think Veigar is a good pick into Azir. Do you know what it's not a good pick into?
Olaf. Yeah. I was just thinking, I'm like, why would you pivot to that, of all things?
But now, the problem is, you've got the Olaf shirt, good matchup for Zeus, but that center is going to get banned, so you won't have that pairing that made the Olaf so obnoxious that's sustained in those fights. We'll have to see what T1 cooks up for the bot lane, finally being pushed away from the center. They're going to ban Kalista here.
I think that it has to be Kalista Ziggs, right? Otherwise, I think it's just a Ziggs lock-in again, and then Beryl gets to counterpick for support, and he's very happy to do that.
Honestly, I think if KT get the chance to do it freely, they can just go Ziggs Rel again. And you know what? That'd be very similar to the composition they played last game. Do you know why? Because it'd be exactly the same as the composition they played last game.
And it'd be relatively good, because in last game it was good.
Yeah.
As there's the Ziggs. So an understandable ban away here. And do they just go Seraphine? Or is it just MF?
I think you leave support counterpicks more important.
Well, I wasn't thinking for support. Because Deft has done it already. And it is another long-range mage that they could play on the bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could in theory. But again, into the Olaf, the CC is limiting.
That's a very good point.
So I think the MF, pretty good. We've obviously seen the value of the ult if you can get people to stay on it. The question is, what they're going to play support. They'll see what T1 pick up, though. We're going to see Jhin from Boom. No, just in the Varus last second. So we've seen the Varus rise up a bit in priority. Not too much great success, but the on-hit Varus did get some buffs a couple of patches ago that really allowed him to find his way in the meta. And the question is, what does Keria play in this situation? I think a lot of supports would just pick an engage support. That would be the standard for probably 90% of our roster in the LCK, is you just pick like whoever you want out of like Rel or Alistar or Leona.
I think you just pick Rel, right?
And I think he's probably just going to pick the Rel.
And now Beryl will pick Alistar, and because that is the theoretical counter, because she presses her button and then you press headbutt. But we did see that this was a catastrophic failure yesterday.
Yep.
B&K, they were like, haha, we will outthink you by picking the Alistar. You cannot pick Rel. And then they picked Rel and they won. Because Rel's really good. So that is what KT are going to do. This is a different story, right? Duro, very new support here in the LCK, playing for B&K yesterday. This is Beryl, who was probably one of our best Alistars in a really long time, in 2019, which was a really long time ago. And he has a lot of practice on this champion. Can certainly set up for a lot of these big team fights to allow BDD and Deft to do as much damage as they would like. A lot of physical damage here on the side of KT, but when you have true damage, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and Smolder also does quite a lot of mixed damage as well. It is obviously more physical, but still does a decent amount of magic as well.
Make It Rain is magic damage as well, I'm pretty sure.
True, it is.
So there you go.
Too significant.
Hey, how dare you? Now. How dare you?
But yeah, I mean, I think this is the most standard compositions we've seen so far from these teams. A lot of it's going to come down to execution. I do think that BDD on the Smolder again is a bit worrying. He's been such a threat on that pick.
It's Swift to support Swiss. He's Swiss coming in to support T1. Wow. I actually got very confused. I was like, Swift? Because I didn't assume that he was going to be just hanging out here in LoL Park. That's a long way to come. So welcome. Hope you have a good time. And let's hope that your team wins for you. On the other side of things, KT, they've got another draft that looks very similar to their other ones. And we'll see whether it's going to work out this time around as we get ready to jump onto the Rift. Whoever wins here is going to be going to match point. See who it's going to be. All right, I feel like KT are getting less and less hinged as far as the fan chants are concerned.
As they should be.
Yep, I think it's only going to get louder from here.
Yeah. I'm a little concerned. One thing is that if Zeus has a good top lane, well, he's done well in this matchup in Game 1. If he has a good time top lane, you have the double threat of Oner Faker. And really, I think, you know, if Deft doesn't get a good ult, you're really reliant on BDD to carry these fights. So, you know, T1, once again, playing a composition with more threats. But I feel like the Ziggs was more of a backup threat in Game 2 than Deft can be in this one. So maybe a bit of concerns about that. Just depend, obviously, how things play out. I wonder if we see KT try to make something happen in the top lane before we get Zeus with ult, but he's actually not going to go top yet. There's a swap coming through. I wonder if he gets to spot it out. He does have a ward covering, so he should get information here. Olaf not going to play lane. Level 1 feels really bad.
Yeah, and they are trying to hide it for as long as possible. As you can see here, Zeus just getting sliced on, and Deft is standing on a ward. I think he thinks that he's being tricky, but you can see from the fact that Zeus is backing away, they are going to get full information as to the lane swap that is occurring. As you can see that Beryl is still not really doing a whole lot of the laning thing, because of course it is just Perfect and Deft pushing out the lane.
He's just hanging around, you know.
Yeah, the cow is just he's out of the paddock and getting stuff done.
This is the danger though, because I think swapping for KT is good, and I think it's big that Zeus wasn't aware, so it takes longer for him to do this. But Olaf is one of the most annoying champions to have invade your jungle level 1.
Ooh, now he's sort of realizing that he's going to have to get out of here. As, all right, we do have the back completed. And Zeus will pick up a lot of the farm underneath this turret, as we can see.
Yeah, it is only casters, so it's not a ton of XP. He will hit level 2, but he won't really be ahead compared to Perfect. But normal lane's returning pretty quick overall. And, you know, we've seen short swaps since MSI, since the fortification changes. This is probably like the shortest swap we've seen.
Yeah.
Like a brief little visit to top lane for Deft and Beryl.
This must be really annoying for Gumayusi. Look at these minions. They're still alive, and they're on 0 health. And so Deft should be able to get a whole bunch of them when he could have otherwise been denied.
Yep, the XP a big thing as well. Even if he's not able to get the gold from all of them, just getting the XP is massive. Oner is going to push in aggressively here. He knows he has Prio in the bot lane, and a big wave stacked up, so he knows he can't really be challenged here.
Yeah, you can see that Piotrek is moving on over, but like you were saying, Deft and Beryl sort of tied down right now. Ward goes in, Piotrek going to be spotted as there is the smite. Oner going to be able to secure it. And the Gromp now going to be considered here by Pioshik. No bowling ball to connect as Gumayusi Keria are going to continue to be frustrating. There's no real lead to be picked up from either side. We've seen in our first couple of games that the action sort of starts relatively early, especially in game number 2, as that is going to be Pioshik locking it down. No piercing arrow to steal that one there. Gumayusi just getting his eye in for things to come.
Yeah, that would have been a tilter. You know, it's not even about the impact in the game. That's a hard one to shake off if it does happen. KT trying to have some presence here and force T1 away, but Oner will turn up just to protect his bot lane and get them back in the lane. And Zeus not doing so hot in this matchup so far.
Yeah, Perfect actually kind of having a bit of a renaissance here in this top lane.
I think, honestly, the impact of the level 1 that Olaf has into Renekton cannot be understated. Like, you can really zone him away, stack up the wave, harass him with axes, and just missing out on that. I think really hurt Zeus. Obviously, Renekton at level 3 gets a lot of power.
Yeah, working out so far. You can see BDD doing exactly what he did in the first couple of games. And, of course, this is the same matchup as game number 1. Faker in a little bit of trouble here in this lane. I think did manage to get the cannon.
Yeah, might have
to. What he's happy about, but looking for a recall, yeah.
TP back in here. I think he's too low. We'll see, though. We do see Oner just in the vicinity covering. I think he got a level up there, so he's not actually too bad. Not a great spot to be in. You know, when you're playing anything in a smolder, you don't want to be winning early. But especially when you prio this Azir, you really don't want to be falling behind. And with the Olaf going down as well, things aren't looking so hot for T1 in this game.
Definitely a much better start here for KT. And I think we were not the only ones worried about what KT decided to do, right? Committing to this Renekton Sejuani anytime they could find it. But we're starting to see some of the value as, even though they haven't necessarily been paired up all that often, it's been extraordinarily valuable in both of these games. As, there we go, Pioshik going to be able to lock it down as Oner is not able to find Sejuani with the bowling ball.
Look back and forth, a lot of just looking for any little camps to steal away. Still an edge for Oner, but just able to answer back does make a difference.
Yep.
And we see that swap coming in. We saw this from KT earlier in the series. And now it's T1 leading the charge. Sending their Varus up top lane. They really want to prioritize these grubs and will move their bot lane there to do so. And you can see that KT, they've just TP'd Perfect in top. So they don't have the members to contest this as 4v5. One thing to say, if they act now, it's an MF. She can get here pretty quickly as far as champions go.
Yep.
With a strut. But it's also Zeus without TP, so actually, sorry, it's a 4v4 still, and KT feeling confident on that. It's Perfect level 6.
Yep, BDD also had control of the mid-wave, so able to get here first. Oh, the steal! That was pretty sexy. T1, I think, can possibly even just move away from this, but you can see Keria looking aggressive. That's a flash out from Beryl. Mum does a lot of damage to T1. But it is going to be just these two grubs that are going to be taken away. Another one, Gumayusi perhaps? No, not going to happen this time. As, yeah, Perfect just going to walk up and stun the Varus.
That's a crocodile.
Yeah, he's pretty scary. He does have Dominus up and available. Gumayusi without the Chains of Corruption just yet. And he's now just going to look for a reset. As Zeus is going to get hit by the double up from Deft there. One of the most satisfying abilities in League of Legends, I think. Landing a good double up feels so good.
Oh, it's so annoying to play against, though. The angles are sometimes fine.
Oh, yeah.
Bounces to the side. Very frustrating to go up against.
I feel like it's one of Spaghetti's greatest achievements.
Yeah.
Is just how double up works sometimes. It's a beautiful thing.
The ways it finds you. But yeah, I mean, so KT get 2. I think the steal for T1, they can be pretty happy with that one. But ends up being a 4v4 on the top side. And considering T1 swapped that bot lane up there, they're kind of losing out, you know. There's now a CS deficit in the bot lane as well. We talked already about how mid and top weren't going as good as T1 had hoped. We're now seeing an advantage for Deft in the bot lane as well between him and Guma. So things just going from kind of bad to worse, I feel like, for T1. It's not significant, right? The lead is very gradual, very small at this point. But definitely in favor of KT right now, I think, with how the game's played out. But Guma now has access to his ultimate. We'll see if the Varus can make some plays. They're looking towards this Renekton under tower.
Possible dive avenue here as they're stacking up this wave. And they do have a lot of chain CC. Of course, Perfect will be able to just press Dominus and try to weather the storm, but this is Yeah, this is real dangerous. I see what you did there. The ultimate has been precast, but there it is. I just don't know what he's going to be able to do here. He goes and has a nap, and that is going to be first blood going over to Oner. And meanwhile, underneath the turret here, Ragnarok has been popped, and Pyosik has to flash. Deft not quite able to grab it quickly enough, but still going to be able to lock down the kill. So both top laners are being treated to some top lane action. And it is just going to be relatively even. T1, though, do come out ahead by picking up first blood and a bit of extra added on farm and things like that.
It must be Charles being a top laner.
Oh, yeah.
Play, honestly. It's just so unfair. Obviously, both teams trading here. VDD will get that cannon.
Oh, that was very close. You see Faker really trying to make that caster minion do a bit more damage.
This is so hard. Keria leads it with the Q. They layer the CC. But because of the sleep, they can drop aggro, let the sleep come through, and then just move back in. Really hard to counter against. And then bot lane, you can ignore the CC, but between the Alistar and the Sejuani, they're so tanky. Barrel ignites, tanks the tower up for a bit. Pyosik takes a couple of hits, and then here, Deft flashes, and is just outside tower range, so only really the big bulky tanks taking tower hits means Zeus can't do anything in return.
It is still going to be a lot of flashes utilized there. You saw Beryl, Deft, and Pyosik all having to invest them. Yeah. Oner holds on to his, Gumayusi his, Keria his. Perfect also, not going to be flashing. And Zeus, guess what? He didn't flash either.
He did ghost though, but yeah, it definitely felt like T1 had a cleaner dive there. Now, they're looking for a redive here. Zeus doesn't quite have his ult yet. It's up very soon, though. Should be up by the time they're in position to dive. Oner could move down here, but he's got his Raptors to deal with. You know,
there is some killing some camps to take down. The Ragnarok, like you were talking about, still up and available. Let's see whether this can work in a 3v2, as there is the Ragnarok coming down. Bowling ball avoided. As Beryl is just dead. That's the watch out eat from Oner, as he is going to get pushed back there momentarily. And that dive just straight up didn't work.
Yeah, Beryl was pretty low HP before he ulted, so it just wasn't enough to keep him healthy. And also, Olaf has some true damage in the kit, so you don't get a full reduction against him. Good play there to counteract KT's attempt. And Oner now with 2 kills in pocket, and already a farm lead over Pyosik, feeling pretty good. Now, Perfect can just Renekton in the wave.
Yeah, he did just Renekton in the wave. Had to press W for that one, and will be able to... Oh, that's a little bit of a shame. Still going to get the experience. It's all going to be fine, but the result of this is the fact that Zeus is now up a wave. And he's feeling pretty good about it. Does have to go back now, so Deft is going to get some spare time with this this outer in the bottom lane. But with these grubs up and available, T1 with a much better position around it. And I think KT just going to have to be happy taking some plates for themselves, although Deft is going to be backing away.
Yeah, so his thing is that Zeus isn't on the map right now, but he could be heading topside. KT don't know, so they have to kind of respect the fact that they don't have information on how many members are going to be there. I also think with Oner being so strong, it's a bit of a cautious one. So they're just going to give up the grubs completely and look instead towards the dragon. There's an ocean dragon first of all.
Does mean that that's not going to be the soul, which is good news.
Yep, and also the Ocean Dragon is an early dragon. It's pretty nice to sustain. It is 12 minutes, though, a bit after laning phase. But T1, no hesitation. You take Dragon, okay, we're going to take this top lane, Tier 1, and get some first tower gold.
Well, Deft, he can make it rain. That makes things a little bit annoying there for Oner to be able to catch up. And that is going to be that dragon taken down. But I think the trade here, not exactly fantastic for KT. As you can see, we're ballooning to above 2,000 gold, the lead for T1 with not only first blood, but with now first brick on top of it. And these incremental leads that T1 have been able to put together for themselves have been pretty impressive considering the early game state that we did see created by KT.
Yeah, it didn't look ideal, and they've managed to really pull things back in their control. I will say, a bit unfortunate, Keria picked up the gold there, shared with Guma. You can see they try to stall it out. Should be Guma's solo gold. Obviously a bit unfortunate there, but still Guma getting enough to finish off this Blade of the Ruined King. Is a bit nerfed on this patch for range champions. 5 less AD, 5% less attack speed, but still pretty good for the on-hit Varus.
Yep. Sort of one of these things that he still has to build. The Terminus Wit's End build is also so tanky.
Yeah, they also changed Terminus so it has more on-hit damage early, although if you're not rushing it, it's not really a major thing to worry about. I wasn't on this patch, it was like the patch before, I think. But not that much magic damage on the side of KT, so I expect a lot of armor to be picked up by T1 in this one. Now, finally back to normal lanes with a bot 2v2, but with Oner here kind of cheating, allows T1 to get another plate.
Yeah, more money going over to Gumayusi and to Keria. We haven't really been paying too much attention in the mid lane, as it is just trading a farm. That's it.
It literally is. That's all they're doing.
Yep, 100%. We'll see whether BDD can once again have a big impact, but right now he is in hibernation, I guess. Just looking to grow up, you know, as is the young Smolder's way. As Pioshik going to be taking his red buff and now considering moving forward, trying to find something to get done here on this map. The Rift Herald's going to be spawning in 7 seconds time, and that might be where they're going to be putting their attention. It's Faker moving down towards the bottom lane, teleport in hand.
Yeah, it just feels like KT not really in position to contest a lot of these things, because the fact they have both Deft and Beryl down here, Faker's down here, but he's got TP, so it just feels like they're really not interested in contesting some of these early objectives.
Yeah.
And giving a lot of space to T1, not wanting to face them head on, which can make sense when you have that Smolder. You're like, let's just let him scale, but they are starting to fall more and more behind. And this Herald could mean a mid-tier 1 for T1, which would be huge.
Well, they are just going to take it. Let's see where they do put it down. Might actually just be plonked into the mid lane immediately. As Perfect and Zeus continuing to go at it here. See Perfect in a better position than he was in game number 1, but I think not in as good of a position as he was in prior. As BDD wants to grab this cannon, will be able to do so, won't be able to stop the charge, but also Shelly's not really going to be able to get more than just a bit of damage onto this outer turret, so not the most consequential of the Rift Heralds. Still going to be a lot of value as far as T1 keeping up the tempo, and as you can see, 2.7k going to be their advantage moving into this mid-game that we're seeing upon us right now. First item buys to come in. Oner does have now his Liandry's. Still looking for Zeus to complete his Stride Breaker, which is likely to come in relatively soon. And yeah, just feeling a little bit like we're calming down. KT probably okay with it because they have a Smolder and things like that, but I also think that T1 with Faker on Azir are also just a much calmer team. It's what it feels like to me. They're just ready to take things as they come, and they know that they can always just win a clutch team fight if they decide to.
And I feel like in a minute 30, we're going to have the Hextech Dragon. That's probably where we're going to see the first real bit of action between these two teams, other than those dives. And already, T1 moving to try and set up some vision. There's a lot of wards down from KT in return. Stride Breaker picked up for Zeus, some spikes coming through. And this is definitely going to be the point of contention. You can see T1 trying to establish mid-prio before moving through.
Yep, Def going to be able to clear out these minions pretty quick, smart. Faker down here, continuing to put on the pressure, and Oner always shadowing. Keria always here. And T1 with a lot to just defend Faker in his position right now. There are a couple of schools of thought on T1 is what we've kind of discovered, and that is either leave Faker completely alone and be in position to punish elsewhere, or everyone just get ready for the global taunt to work.
Yep, no half measures. It's all or nothing. Do you see BDD picking up the Triforce? And he's going to make his way top just to clear out this wave.
Does have teleport, so he's the one that is allowed to do that. 24 seconds.
Dragon, and KT already have one, so if they're not feeling it, they can just give this up. And we see actually Pioshik and Beryl moving up towards the top side of the map, so perhaps that might just be the game plan.
Yeah.
Just trade the dragons and one apiece. Not really too much concern either way, whatever this all is.
Still going to be Faker taking a bottom outer turret as well, so that stacked onto everything is only going to continue to build T1's lead. Pioshik in this Herald pit. Not really doing a whole lot of anything at all. It's Perfect just down here to collect this wave as it comes down. And Faker and Oner just going to be sieging. And KT just kind of milling about. It's not looking like they have too much of a plan of where to make an attack happen. It looks like maybe they can fight for this dragon, but Banana Brush control not going to be something that they can actually get around. And it just feels to me like T1 using their chess pieces on the map just a bit better than what KT have been able to do so far.
Yeah, the side lane of pressure from the Azir and Olaf did a pretty good job. And Zeus has TP ready. He's out of vision if they want to move. And I think KT just giving this one up.
Yeah, it looks like this one's not going to be something that they can actually fight for. We'll have a look at what soul it is going to be. Mountain Soul to come in.
Good one.
Yep, either team going to be pretty happy about that.
And now looking to try and apply some pressure towards that mid-tier 1. Deft could just ult the wave, so I don't think they're going to commit too hard.
Yeah, decides that he doesn't even want to do that. Just going to be able to clear out these as usual, as T1 do not push any further forward.
Okay, so yeah, T1 still with that lead, but nothing really come from that in the past few minutes other than just like these gradual incremental increases, which I think is fine. But BDD, you've only got about 4 or 5 minutes until he's going to be stacked up. Obviously, playing into a Azir is a bit slower stacking than playing into a Yasuo, but he's been pretty consistent on those. And that's the point where it gets pretty scary.
Yeah.
So, incremental advantages generally in a game of League of Legends is a fine way to win the game. But, you know, they always have to consider the fact that BDD will remain a threat no matter what the state of the game is once he has those stacks. T1 starting to establish some control around Baron. This is often where, when T1 do want to push the pace of a game, Baron is where they look. It was also a very late first Dragon, so Soul is so far away for either team.
Yeah, no, it's kind of ridiculous, especially because they've traded dragons so far, so it needs to be 3 more of these elementals to be actually collected. But like you were saying, I mean, Baron is certainly on the cards, because not only do they have on-hit Varus with the Blade of the Ruined King, but they've got double Leandries. Like, this is a lot of Baron damage here from T1. They would like to go for it. Nice Pulverize going to connect, but Keria just crashes down out of the way of it. And just testing the waters here, RKT. Haven't really seen just an honest 5v5 between these two squads. And I think that is what a lot of these, what both of these compositions are kind of built for. As far as getting that Wombo down, finding these engages, finding the angles, allowing Zeus to run amok, or allowing Def to find that big ulti as Flash has to come out here as the Dominus has been popped. Perfect. Going down so incredibly low. Teleports coming in from everyone as Oner kind of creep blocked, and that is going to be somehow BDD picking up that kill. As a result, I think it kind of works out for KT in a weird way. Especially after also getting the flash.
I think they're pretty happy. They get a shutdown as well from Oner. You see T1 trying to go for an aggressive play there, punish the Renekton in the side lane. But they just don't quite kill him quick enough. You see immediately, they see Perfect out of position. They're like, let's go, let's make this happen. Zeus is the one who ults, so obviously Perfect's not going to burn his stun on him. And this stun at the end on Oner, that little extra bit makes all the difference. And then Oner gets slowed, gets creep blocked, and now Faker also
Faker is
down.
just dead. Okay, BDD gonna flap away from the wall, and you can see that little grin on BDD's face. Feeling pretty good as a 2-0 Smolder once again.
This is kind of the problem, okay? Incremental advantages, you make 2 mistakes. It doesn't feel like they're massive mistakes, but now BDD's also picking up this tower. He is just suddenly monster fed out of nowhere. You know, he got the gold for the Faker kill, he got the shutdown for the Oner kill. He is going to be a problem and has continued to be throughout the series, even the game they lost.
Oh, unfortunately caught backing there a little bit. Did have vision, but it was just not enough. And the pincer maneuver going to be able to take him down. KT not holding anything back to kill him there either. They're like, nope, we're just going to press ultimate buttons and we will take you down. Pureshit going to land the ulti. And of course, with a stationary target, it is going to work out. So, a little bit of dropping of the ball here for T1, but not end of the world. And as you can see, it is still almost a 2,000 gold lead. So that has brought KT back about 1,000 gold. The problem is Smolder.
Yeah, it's just the Smolder factor. And I think T1 might get to the point where they're starting to look for plays that could feel a bit desperate here. They are hovering around Baron again. BDD is 2 levels up on Faker right now. And, you know,
he's 2 levels up on everyone.
Yeah, highest level in the game. This is not where you wanted the game to be. And remember, T1 is on blue side. You know, if the teams keep trading wins on blue side, that's fine.
Whoa, okay. So Beryl was able to get the headbutt off, but unfortunately he headbutted the air.
Yeah, but as I was saying, you know, T1 is on blue side. Blue side wins only so far in the series. If they're losing on blue side, it's really such a big advantage to KT, who didn't have side selection going into this.
Yeah.
T1 can kind of be happy. Okay, blue side win, blue side win, blue side win. Do that for the whole series and T1 win the series. If KT win this game, suddenly that formula doesn't work anymore.
It means that they will be guaranteed another blue side game, or maybe even another win on red, in theory. As of course, that's where they would be put back, but it does just give you so much flexibility in these games. I think you're exactly right. Feels like tennis, right? Feels like breaking a serve.
Yep, 100%.
If you don't manage to win on that blue side. I don't think it's necessarily quite that much. We've seen, sides be very, very, powerful in the past.
2-2-3 stacks, by the way, for BDD, and that's 2-2-5. He's got the bin now. That's exactly what you want coming into a dragon fight. Guma.
Well, Mom gets angry, and that is set up by a Make It Rain.
Yeah, and they traded Guma's ult for Barrels. Obviously, losing the Alistar ult is a lot more vulnerable, but the Varus ult's pretty valuable in these 5v5s. Both teams just kind of playing an ARAM right now. The Dragon is up and available, but KT are like, no. We're not in a rush. I think that is the statement to really define this game.
Yeah.
KT. This is the most
This is the least
approach.
Yeah, it's the least rushed I've seen KT all year.
Ever, really.
It's actually just kind of nuts. The general franticness of this team just hasn't really existed today. Outside of, I guess, in game number 1, where it was just like both teams throwing each other at each other the entire time. But that's fine. You need a little bit of that original Telecom War flavor.
Oh man, it's so annoying as well trying to contest a wave against Smolder because you can just bounce the Qs off the minions and hit people.
Yeah.
He doesn't have rapid fire
Speaking
yet.
of bouncing Qs, that's what Def does as well.
Oh, that is true. A lot of
bouncy Qs. And then he had a bouncy Q in game 2 as well.
Oh man.
He's only been playing bouncy Qs.
They've been abusing bouncy Qs.
Oh.
We do see that bit of poke coming in return. But still, T1 they don't have an avenue here. They can't find anything. They're kind of just hovering around mid. And the Dragon's alive, but the longer this time passes, the more and more the potential of a soul is just out the window.
Yeah.
Like at this point, the earliest you can get a soul is what, like 34, 35 minutes? By that point, the Smolder is beyond online. He's just downloaded the game and he's taken over.
Yep. He's fully patched and ready to go.
Oh yeah.
At that point. Doesn't need to worry. Is Gumayusi going to be able to clear out some more vision? Banana brush control still there for T1.
I mean, this is how
outer turret
confident
is still alive.
This is how confident KT is in that T1 can't do the Dragon. Yoshik just went topside to do red buff. Like, yeah.
Huh.
What are you guys going to do about it? Let's just go back to farming. Let's pretend the Dragon didn't even spawn. Does the Dragon exist if no one actually enters the pit and kills it? Apparently not.
Yeah, I don't know. Jonas Strong is going to have to show us to see whether that is in fact true. But that's 3 items for BDD. So the Dragon most certainly does exist.
Yeah, and the thing is, Triforce, great early item because you proc on every Q. Manamune gives you a lot of AD, procs on your Q as well. Rapid Fire doesn't increase your damage by that much, but the long-ranged auto is so powerful, particularly into a comp like T1's, to just how frequently he can get these Qs off. And now he's just going to become so much more dangerous.
Yeah, especially when the Q is stacked this far, because not only does it benefit from having stacks, it also gets you more stacks, because you hit more Qs.
Yeah.
Zeus
there's a dragon! Wait.
Maybe this is the way to take the dragon, is just to throw a Viking at it.
Did you guys know there's a dragon up?
Yeah, I just found out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Zeus, for showing us. Zeus is going to then deny its existence immediately afterwards, and will move away. Looks like neither team really wants to contend with there being an Elder Drake possibility on the map, as now Beryl could be in trouble. Once again, going to be trading his ulti for Gumayusi's.
I genuinely think this is the longest, like, a third dragon has been alive all season.
Yeah.
Like, for such a long time.
They just don't care about it.
I mean, I think KT are just like, we'll sit here and not take the dragon for another 20 minutes and just give BDD's at 260 stacks now.
I mean, BDD is a member of the Dragon Preservation
We have a dragon, yeah.
He's like, we don't kill dragons. I prefer to stay undying for, 2 games in a row. That sounds great.
Yeah. I'm loving the pacifist approach.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
From KT. Well, they are killing minions, but I guess BDD doesn't value minions on the same level as dragons.
I'm starting to appreciate wanting to take down the dragons, though. They're looking pretty dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
As Keria gets burnt a whole lot. Zeus is going to be giving his team a red buff. That is going to be the collection there. KT wanting to grab some buffs themselves.
And I will say, this has been the least inspiring 3,000 gold lead I've ever seen. They are technically ahead in terms of money, but I just don't feel it right now. It just doesn't seem to be relevant.
No, I think that BDD is a little bit ahead in being Smolder.
Yeah, well, I will say though,
that's the problem. Bouncy Qs as well, by the way.
It would be so crazy if just a fight broke out and they got on top of him and just one-shot him. How we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah.
And he just immediately... Wait, are they gonna...
Hang on.
No, they're killing the scuttle. They're killing the scuttle.
Okay. But, we just Scryers orbed the dragon.
He's killing the ward?
And so the dragon does exist once again.
He's like, they are really doing the pacifist run this time.
Oh, yeah.
I guess no one should tell BDD that they did kill that ocean dragon earlier. But I guess, you know, some people become vegetarians later in life. I guess you're not going to...
Wow, BDD started up the dragon. He's not a member of the Dragon Preservation Society.
Or maybe he left, you know?
Oh, yeah, maybe he had to leave because otherwise they were never going to be able to get the objective. Speaking of objectives, T1, they're just going to run over towards this Baron, and the dragon will be taken, but can there be any responses? Beryl just dives in there. All right, maybe that's the response. It's perfect, just pokes his head in, and then hops out again immediately, and KT have stopped the Baron.
Yeah, they started to take some damage, and I think they were really conscious of the freshly level 16 BDD pressing R on them in the pit and just one-shotting them.
He's going to call his mom, and it's one of those call your mom when his mom's really scary.
Yeah.
You know, have you had those friends before? And he's just like, no, I'll tell my mom on you. And you're like, no, please don't.
Yeah. When you come over to their house, and, you know, you'll be doing something, and like a glass will smash or something, and immediately everyone...
all the blood drains out of your face. Yeah. It's like, please tell me that's not one of the good ones. Oh, dear.
You know what? If the mum's that angry, it doesn't even matter if it's one of the good ones.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. You just have to be extremely careful. Speaking about being careful, KT carefully trying to assess whether this Baron is going to be taken down. That is going to be some vision given over. BDD going to be the one to answer the Olaf, as this farming is looking very satisfying. Unless you're a T1 fan, as Pioshik, this is good news for T1 fans. Pioshik a little bit too far forward. Oner running very, very quickly. The bowling ball not quite going to connect, but Pioshik going to be sent packing here for now. I believe does have his Warmogs completed, so we'll be able to get that health back relatively soon.
Oh, not quite, actually. So.
Oh, doesn't actually have it built up. Man, been sitting on those components for a while.
So they will get vision with the Make It Rain. Beryl actually has no wards and isn't able to reach full.
All right, he's going to have to flash to get himself out of the way. This one eats some Honey Fruit. Shattering Strike does not land, but Oner will be able to put him to sleep. Throws down the ulti, but had no health to back it up, and is still just able to walk it off. Never mind.
Yeah, he just lives, I guess.
Those hooves were made for walking. As now Pioshik looking for a bit of an angle. T1, I think they found it though, as Chains of Corruption gonna have to be flashed. But that's not even the main thing. They have so much control around this Baron area, as Beryl running back, hoofing it as fast as he can.
Okay, but Death can get vision with Make It Rain. That's all they have right now. They're just going to have to go for it.
Yeah, they're going to have to try and find an angle. Here's the Magnet Storm looking to try and keep them out of the pit. And Pioshik still gets in, but it's not going to be good enough. Look at this AoE damage, it's gigantic. But T1 are still just going to be able to get out of there with the purple buff in hand.
It's a successful heist, but it still feels weirdly... You know, it worked. They got the Baron, but BDD is still so strong. It still doesn't feel like a true victory right now. They lose one member, they get away. They're going to lose a tower as well.
I feel like we're going to get to the point where T1 has like a 10,000 gold lead, and they're inside KT's base, and we're still worried about the Smolder.
Yeah, I don't think that worry's ever going to go away. It's a win for T1, right? They got the Baron. You can't complain about that. But it's on the knife's edge. And you look at this situation, it's a great ult for Keria to keep Pioshik out the pit, gets in too late, but he just gets deleted. And the rest of the team, I was thinking like BDD, imagine if you flashed Q someone, if he was just in range, you'd kill like 4 people.
Yep.
So it really feels like they're kind of just hiding from the dragon at this point, which has kind of been what they've been doing all game, hiding from the dragons.
I think it's a very smart idea. The dragons are pretty scary. Speaking of which,
370 farm. That perfect timing from the observers, but the stacks, I mean, he must be at like, maybe like 350 at this point. He's so strong. He's got Leandri's finished as well.
And it's not like Faker is farming really badly or anything like that, like he's being shut out of the game. It's just everything's being funneled. He's caught every side lane. Everything has just gone into BDD, and it's understandable. He's now got 4 items, and they're all really good items.
You know, this feels like an aiming Smolder game.
Oh, it really does. I feel like we watched this yesterday. And aiming won a few of those games. So we can see that building up the Smolder is certainly something that does work. But now it's T1's forte. This is where they get to utilize their control of the map. And you can see able to take down inner turret in the top lane. And it looks like Zeus will be able to protect this siege minion as well, getting to work in this mid lane. 4 grubs paying off as well.
Yeah, this is big, especially against a Smolder. Baron push is going to be tricky just because you can shred the wave so effectively. But T1 keep pushing the gold advantage, but it still feels dangerous. And the thing is, Soul is so far away. Soul is just a non-factor right now. the dragon was delayed so much. Like, if T1 secure this dragon, then Soul's just not happening for the longest time.
Nope.
No Elder, really, to push the pace of the game, well, other than BDD.
Oh, okay, Oner is going to look for a little bit of aggression here as he prances forward. That is going to be the blue buff secured, takes away from all of KT. As Beryl not going to get bold, and it is going to be a Gromp secured here.
Look, this game... This game is really just a test of how strong Smolder actually is. Can he carry?
Yeah.
For the 6k gold deficit, he's the fed one on the team. Everyone else is kind of just supporting cast.
And it's like, there's been 7 kills this game. Somehow, there's a 6,000 gold lead. As T1, they've started up the dragon. Vision now given over to KT. As teleport to come in. Let's see what can happen here as the dragon does fly by, but it's just a little bit of damage onto Oner. They get the edge. Yoshik, they do manage to avoid the Chains of Corruption largely, but in goes Oner, he goes golden. Can they find the sleeps they're looking for? The flash out from BDD, but he's still gonna get taken down. And this is like what you were talking about, Orcs. Unfortunately, sometimes the little dragon just goes pop, and T1, they are just crushing KT with their wallets now. It's a little bit anticlimactic, but that is the way T1 are going to do it as they look to try and bring us to the next game with match point in hand. That's going to be the clean ace. And T1, I think, just marching up the mid lane.
BDD, he's got a QSS in his inventory, just bought it now, but it's too late. Ends up getting CC'd, ends up going down, and that Smolder, who felt like such a threat, goes down with a whimper. T1, the incremental advantage is apparently we're enough to win them this game.
They're going to make a little bit more proactive play there on the side of KT. I was praising them for their pace.